Hello everyone and welcome back. In the last lecture we defined several methods that will get and set the numerator and denominator for our class, and we defined this method main, which we can use to input what we want to do and later on call that main method to execute the program once. So here we created an instance of our fraction class and saved it in a variable called fraction1, and our fraction class, the init method accepts two attributes. So we passed numerator and denominator values, and we said to print fraction1. So here we can also print, so our fraction1 is an instance of our fraction class, so we can use any of the methods inside our class. So we can get the denominator and numerator for our fraction1 object. So we can print, let's say, fraction1 dot get denominator, and we'll also get the numerator. Say fraction1 dot get denominator, numerator, and we can add some statement here. For instance, we can say the numerator of our fraction1 object is, and let's also do the same for our get denominator method. We can say the denominator of our fraction1 object or class is, and then we have our get denominator function here. Okay, and let's print a line in between. Let's say that times 10. Okay, next we have print. Now we will change the numerator and denominator to different numbers. So fraction1 dot set numerator, we use the set numerator method to set a new numerator, and then we did the same for our denominator using the set denominator method. We'll be setting a new denominator. Okay, fraction1 dot set denominator, then we have fraction1 dot set denominator. Okay, and let's print these two statements again. Command C, here command V. So the numerator of our fraction1 and the denominator of our fraction1 got get. Okay, and we can print our fraction, print our new fraction is, then we can say fraction1. So that will be our new fraction. So let's run it. So initially we have 2 over 7, right? And then the numerator of our fraction1 object is 2, good. And the denominator of our fraction1 object is 7, good. It says now we will change the numerator and denominator to different numbers. So after we change it, the numerator of our fraction 1 object is 9, and the denominator of our fraction 1 object is 19. Our new fraction is 9 over 19. So it looks good. Right? Even if we set it to certain numbers initially, we can use the set numerator function or method to set it to different numbers, right? And we use the get numerator and get denominator methods to display what those values are. And that also helps us in representing a nice string format of our fraction. Okay, let me include that. And next we have 3 over 8. So we have another, okay, we initiated another class of our fraction and saved it in a variable called fraction2. Fraction2 is equal to fraction 3/8 print fraction2, and we can do the same thing as we did here, right? And what other things can we do? So let's say print fraction2, and then we can say print, let me copy paste what we have before. The numerator of our fraction2 object is, in this case it will be fraction2 dot get numerator and fraction2 dot get denominator of our fraction2 object is, now we are initializing another instance of our fraction class and save it in fraction2 variable. Okay, so print fraction2, and then we have our numerator and denominator. So while we are here, we can change it to different values using the set numerator and denominator functions. So that's what we'll do next. Let me copy the statement and paste it here. So what we'll do is we will now change, okay, we will now change the numerator and denominator of our fraction2 object to different numbers. Okay, let's do that. So we have fraction2 dot set numerator, and then let's set it to, let's say, 24, and let's do the same for our denominator. Fraction2 dot set denominator to, let's say, 55. Okay, let's print a new line here so that it's more visible and clear. Times 10. Next we can print our new fraction2 numerator and denominators. So we can print, just to save some time, I will copy paste the statements here. Command C and paste it here. Command V. The numerator of our fraction2 object is, we can say, the new numerator of our fraction2 object is fraction2 dot get denominator and fraction2 dot get numerator. So when we execute the statement, we'll get, first we are printing fraction2 3 over 8, and this get numerator function will get the numerator, which is 3, and then this get denominator method will get the denominator, which is 8, and then we'll change the numerator and denominator to new numbers using the set numerator and set denominator methods, and we'll set our new numerator to be 24, which we will get by using the fraction2.get numerator function or method, and the denominator will be 55. Let's run it. So we have seen up to here, this is for fraction 1. Now we're looking at fraction 2. So initially we have 3 over 8, then the numerator is 3, denominator is 8, makes sense. And then we'll change the numerator to two different numbers, which is 24 for our numerator, and denominator is 55. We can also print our new fraction, right? Which is this line. Our new fraction is, then we'll print fraction 2. Let me copy this, print it here. So our new fraction is fraction 2. So we are calling fraction 2, which in turn calls the init method, and then it will give us a nice string representation of our fraction 2 object. Let's run it again. So finally we have our new fraction is 24 divided by 55. Okay, so far it's good. What if we have 0 for our denominator? What will we get? So in case we use 0, it will exit the program. Let me show you that. Let's add a new line first, then we can paste it and set a new instance and save it in a variable called fraction3, and let's change this to 4 and denominator to 0, and let's simply print fraction 3. So in this case, so we have all our first two fraction objects, right? We have our first two instances of our fraction class. So that's our fraction 1 object. This is for our fraction 2 object. And then here we have, there was an error with your calculation, which is what we put here, right? In our init method, if denominator is 0, we are printing the statement, there was an error with your calculation, and then it's telling the program to exit, right? That's what this statement does. From system import exit, and then we are using the exit method or function. So that's what we have here. An exception has occurred, so system exit. Okay, that's what this does. So this is what our program does. Just to summarize, we created a fraction class, and then this is fraction. So we have a one line representation, a document string for our class object and each of our methods in our class. And you can use, for our init, you can add a one line document string. You can say this will initialize our attributes, initialize attributes numerator and denominator. So usually we don't need this to read our own code, because if I'm writing this code, I know exactly what I'm doing, so I don't need this document strings. Usually people put a nice and short descriptive document string in the class. So you'll see, if you are reading people's code, you'll only see this document string. You know, our class that represents a fraction. That's what you'll mostly see, right? Because if I am reading my own code, I know exactly what each of these methods do. But for others, this is a very clear description. So one line description of each of the methods. I just wanted to quickly show you that, right? So we have our init method, get numerator and denominator methods, which will return the denominator and numerator, and the set numerator and set denominator methods set numerator and denominators. And we have our special str method that will return a nice string representation of our fraction object. Okay, and we put everything that we want to calculate in the main method. You see here, we put everything in the main method, and we just called the main method once to calculate all of this, right? So that's the importance of the main method. Otherwise, we will have to instantiate, we have to come to a new cell and then instantiate our fraction class every time. We'll have to say fraction1 is equal to, right, fraction, and then pass the attributes. We gotta do that, and then say, you know, print fraction1, and then print, you know, fraction1 that, for instance, we can say get denominator, and then, you know, execute this, go to a new cell, instantiate a new class. You know, instead of doing all of that, we can place it in our main method here, and then just simply call the main method. And whenever we want to add more things, we can place them in our main method. Great. That's what I have for this exercise. Thank you everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture.